The Clonmacnoise Monestary, a place that has seen more than her fair share of violence. After the O'Connor kings of Connacht granted this land to the church in 544, she would live a tumultuous existence until her demise centuries later. Clonmacnoise is known as the Meadow of the Sons of Nos. She has seen countless invasions from the likes of the Irish, Vikings, and Normans, among others. Through each of these invasions, she remained a pillar of the religious infrastructure in medieval Ireland. Despite these invaders' best efforts, their swords and spears seeking her destruction, the remains of Clonmacnoise still stand to this day. The monastery exists as a pilgrimage destination for religious leaders, historians, and tourists alike. To an outsider, it may seem this place was always destined for hardships. A plague took hold of this holy place at the end of the 7th century that saw countless dead. It would take years for the people and the church to recover. Even in the absence of disease, the monastery would not know peace, as with every new ruler came a new birth of aggression. First came the native Irish, striking at the monastery more than 20 times, raiding, pillaging, and destroying that which the monks and citizens held dear. The passing years would see the Irish yield to invaders from across the seas, as Vikings would take to the shores, dominating the landscape, followed shortly by the Normans coming from France. The monastery's vulnerability came from its very lifeblood. The River Shannon and the nearby city of Athlone made it ideal for both settlers and bandits. Despite the turmoil, the land itself stood strong and developed. 12 churches stood against the horizon surrounding the central cathedral. The cathedral at Clonmacnoise was built by the King of Tara in the year 909. Built from brown sandstone quarried from the land nearby, the cathedral stood for centuries, a glorious example of Irish craftsmanship. In the hagiography of Columba, this place of worship would be blessed by the future saint. During his short time that the saint was a guest in the monastery of Clon, there were many other things also which he prophesied by the revelation of the Holy Ghost. Visits of angels distinctly made to himself, certain places within the enclosure of the monastery being at the time thus resorted to by angels. Adamnan of Iona, 700 AD. In the end, it would not be war, famine, or pestilence that saw this historic monastery's end. Instead, she would fall victim to the rising tide of economics. The town of Athlone began to grow as a trading center in the late 12th century. The citizens of the monastery town would find themselves faced with a question. Do you keep your home, live a modest life, or do you seek prosperity? Most would choose the latter. Even the monks would eventually seek greener pasture with the growth of different monastic disciplines, such as the Franciscans, Benedictines, and Augustinians. The once proud monastery became a husk of her former self, and she would never return to her former glory. In the 16th century, the once proud site would be sacked and all but destroyed during the dissolution of monasteries as the Anglican Church came to fruition. However, these were not her final breaths. The remains of the monastery still stand as a point of pilgrimage, seeing the patronage of the likes of Pope John Paul II, many other world leaders, and countless tourists. Though many of her walls may no longer stand, time cannot erase this immensely important place. Having bested centuries of sword, spear, and flame, the Clonmacnoise Monastery will never sink beneath the waves of history.